So what is the reason why you're here, and who are these people protesting? Whom are the protesters?
These people...
Yeah, and who are you? So you can start.
My name is Dennis Erlich. I was in Scientology for 15 years, from 1968 to 1982. I know the kinds of things that go on inside of this organization. People are locked up. People are used as slaves. There is mind control in this organization. And it's a commercial organization and not a religion. And it goes about protecting its little secrets by litigating against critics and hassling critics. And these people are out here protesting basically Scientology's internal injury of its own members and staff, and also external hassling, harassing, litigating against critics to keep their criticism silent. You want more? Ask a question.
Going.
Oh, so where are we right now standing, and what is inside this building here?
This is the Scientology Celebrity Center. This is what they use to lure celebrities in, and then the celebrities are used to lure other people in. It's a dirty little scam, and really what they're selling is some sort of science fiction exorcism about how people are inhabited by entities called body thetans, and they need this expensive exorcism to get free. But you don't find that out until you've paid hundreds of thousands of dollars.
You are here on a special day? What kind of day is it today for the Scientology organization?
They're celebrating the birthday of L. Ron Hubbard, and making a big to-do about how he should have a star on Hollywood Boulevard and all these other things. And he was really a crook and a fraud and a con man.
Okay, that's it for the moment.
The gentleman behind me here in the gray suit and the glasses is Matt Bratschi. Matt Bratschi and I work together in OSA, which is the intelligence network for the Church of Scientology. And I'm trying to get Matt's attention, but every time I talk to him or even go around to talk to him, he'll turn his back to me. They've been told not to respond to the picketers at all, and they've closed down all the window shades inside the motel so people cannot look out and see us picketing. Come on, Matt. Look at me, man. I used to work with you. We used to do OSA together. Come on, look at me. What a wimp. Come on. See, he won't talk to me. He's scared. Scared to talk to me.
doing B-roll.
I don't know exactly what our plans are, but we get there. Very good, very good. Going back into the closet?
No, I'm not. I don't think so. He's just busy.
Wayne probably does.
I think it's the PIs that are really.
Sandy Weiniger. I'm a former member.
Oh,
I've been out about 13 years now.
a long time.
I was in about that long.
Okay.
And I'm real happy to be out of it and having no association with it. It's a wonderful thing to be free from.
And where did you work in this organization?
I
Or
never
you
worked for them.
Oh, no?
Luckily, I was one of the ones that escaped their hooks as far as working on staff. I'm glad at that.
Okay.
And what is the reason why you are here today?
Well, I think people should know the dangers of this group and be aware that there are people that are willing to take their time and make it known that they know how dangerous this group is.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1.
Okay, hi. Can you tell me who you are and what's the reason why we meet you right here in Los Angeles?
Sure, my name is Keith Henson, and I'm just an internet person that was watching this fight when it developed on the net in early 1995.
What has happened to you during your fight against Scientology? What did they do to you?
I was involved with this because a number of things occurred. They issued what was called an RM group, which was the equivalent of coming into my favorite bar and smashing it up with a baseball bat or something. They then sued a whole bunch of people, including Dennis Erlich and Arnie Lerma and the FactNet people, and did raids on their houses. And I was quite upset by that. And eventually, I wound up. Eventually, there was a guy by the name of Grady Ward, and they sued him for supposedly posting a bunch of their internal secret scripture stuff on the network. And when they did that, I took a look at one of these and discovered it was a criminal instruction manual. And what I did is I posted it with a bunch of comment. And they then sued me, which was 2 years ago, a little more than 2 years ago. In the meantime, of course, they've harassed my family. They've got actually 9 different legal actions going against me at this point.
Oh, that's very interesting. What kind of legal actions?
They got a temporary restraining order to keep me away from one of their people on the domestic violence laws. But it didn't work very well from the standpoint that I came down here anyway and picketed them despite that. And so they did a citizen's arrest on me, and now they're in all kinds of trouble over that. In fact, they tried that over in Riverside, and the judge told them that they were completely out of line to do it.
And what did they do against your family?
They harassed my teenage daughter, and they harassed my wife a number of times by coming and banging on the door and wanting to talk to me.
Phone calling and banging.
Phone calls, not too much in the way of phone calls, but they have been a real nuisance. Process servers and such.
What else has happened? What's your running all the cases or?
They haven't won on me yet. They're most afraid at this point. They are making a lot of noise in court, and they're most afraid of the possibility of me taking a copy of this material, which is a criminal instruction manual, and taking it in and giving this evidence of criminal activity, illegal practice of medicine, to the Food and Drug Administration, which is the appropriate law enforcement people. And I'm the only person that I've ever heard of who has a injunction by a federal judge which prohibits me from supplying evidence that I have of criminal activity to the appropriate law enforcement officials. Judges can do almost anything they want. It's hard to say exactly why, but this judge is very, very heavy on intellectual property rights and doesn't seem to have much concern about people knowing what they're getting into in terms of the dangers of Scientology. It's a very dangerous organization to get sucked into. It will at the least take all of your money away, and at the worst it will kill you. They often wind up getting people to take Scientology auditing instead of being treated for cancer or other kinds of diseases, and if you go crazy in Scientology, they lock you up the way they did Lisa McPherson until you die of dehydration. It's a pretty rough operation altogether. Actually, Scientology, it turns out, is the equivalent. It's the equivalent. The treatment that they give to people causes a release of internal brain chemicals, and it's very similar in its effect to drug addiction. People know about drug addiction. They don't know how dangerous cults are, and that they do very much the same thing. If you think about what people do who have become drug addicts, and what people do who become cult addicts, if you will. They're very similar. You know, they drain the kids' education funds and they mortgage the house and they lose their jobs and they eventually wind up in terrible shape on it. And some people will do that, I think, even if they don't know what is in store for them. But hopefully we can get a lot of people to understand that it's really dangerous and that they shouldn't get tangled up with it.
So you go on with your fight?
Oh, sure. The fight will go on until Scientology as an organization is destroyed. They don't have sense enough to back off from the internet, and the internet will just chew them to pieces. But the religion of Scientology, the auditing and the other kinds of things, even the belief in Xeno and the parasitic spirits called body thetans and such stuff, that will go on because there's probably there's more people outside of Scientology practicing it than there is inside the organization itself. It's called the free zone, and it's not dangerous.
So who do you think is in charge for all doing these kind of crimes in the organization?
The Alt-Religion Scientology Central Committee, which is a totally mythical organization, but they think it's for real. They also think that it's, of course, is under the control of extraterrestrial people. They're a UFO cult, of course, and as a result...
Who's in charge for...
Oh, for us?
Yeah, who's in charge for the organization doing or commanding this organization?
Well, have you ever heard of things which self-organize? This is one of those kind of things. It's like trying to herd cats. You can't herd cats, but if you open a can of tuna, you'll have cats that you see coming out of the windows. And this has turned out to be an enormously amusing thing to do. It's turned out to be very serious from the standpoint that this is a very dangerous kind of an organization. But it's also turned out to be a great deal of fun, and of course there's a great deal of status in being involved with the first internet battle which takes down an ugly cult like Scientology.
So what do you think, how long will it take until the battle is over?
It's very difficult for me to figure out how long it's going to take until this battle is over. I can't imagine it going more than maybe another year at the most. But on the other hand, I thought it would be done a lot sooner. I can say, though, that it's going to be like the Berlin Wall, in that the collapse of Scientology will happen suddenly, maybe over a week. There's an entire subject, an academic subject, in fact, a couple of them, called evolutionary psychology, and another piece called memetics. Memetics is the study of infectious information which infest human beings, kind of the way computer viruses infest computers. And Scientology is an example of that. If you dig around on the net, there's many places which discuss this as a discipline. They sure pulled it in. Scientology has this thing about pulling in problems. If you have a problem, it's your fault because you did something to cause it to happen. Well, I don't believe that, but they do. And they really do indeed have done that. They have done things which have caused them an enormous amount of grief. In particular, this picket here can be traced to them ordering me to come down on October 31 for a hearing for an injunction against me. And the injunctions and the arrest that resulted from that, and the court battles and all the other things which have occurred from there, is what has excited the internet people enough to cause another picket to come down very shortly after the last one. The last picket was only in December in Clearwater, and now it's only 3 or 4 months later, and there's yet another picket coming down. They don't know what to do with this.
And how did they personally arrest you during your picket, during your former pickets?
Oh,
What has it done with you?
when they arrested me, a guy by the name of Edwin Richardson jumped me from behind and tried to choke me into unconsciousness. I've got pictures on the net showing the big bruises on my neck, which were here and down here where he grabbed me.
He's from the Scientology Secret Service.
He's a Scientologist and a security guard for this guy, Glenn Barton. Barton works for their internal security operation called OSA.
So they hurt you?
Oh yeah, but it turns out that they may be in serious legal problems because of that, because the injunction that they had against me was invalid on constitutional grounds, and so their attempts to arrest me were invalid as well.
False arrest.
False arrest, and as a result, I will be able to sue them for enormous amounts of money. Not that I expect particularly to collect on that, but at least I can sue them, and that gains me more status. I'm currently at the suppressive person grade 5 level. A grade 4 level is where you get threatened by a lawsuit. A grade 5 is when you actually are sued by them. Grade 6 is when you win the suit. And I forget what the others are, but grade 8 is, I forget what 7 is. Grade 8 is where you have won a lawsuit against them, and grade 9 is where you've actually collected the money. Larry Wallersheim has been stuck at grade 8 for about 17 years. He won multi-millions against them way back 17 years ago, and they have yet to pay it off, although they were forced the last time that they appealed it to post a bond 1.5 times the $6 million that they owed him. The net is a disaster for Scientology. There are thousands of people out there who are poking through records various places. And just this last week, there was a guy in Colorado, I believe, called Ray Randolph, who discovered that they had pulled a $6.9 million scam on a company that had bought a bunch of trailer parks from somebody. And that information was not known to the company that was being sued for collecting this $6.9 million. So it's extremely likely that one they'll lose as a direct result of people on the internet being interested in it. They've also been nailed, and a bunch of Scientologists have been nailed in stock fraud operations recently and other swindles, the TradeNet thing with the laundry balls, for example. And all of this is being spread all over the internet, and more and more and more and more people know about what's going on. It won't prevent everybody from getting into it, but there should be a whole lot less people that get into it. We understand that Scientology's income is down somewhere somewhere below a third, and perhaps as little as 20% of what it was 3 years ago when they started to fight with the internet.
Okay, thank you very much.
Welcome.
Thing I know, they're following me all around. 30, 50, you wouldn't believe how many. I could not walk out of my house down there in Carlos without 30 to 50 of them, literally. He came and arrested me.
For what?
Okay, what they did is this. They went down.
I've been arrested twice.
Yes. He arrested me in the public library. What happened was they took the night before. They had kidnapped my friend Glenn Davis. This is a court record. I'll explain how that happened. They kidnapped him from the Hollywood, from the Mark Twain Hotel, pretending to be police officers. And apparently they had certain police officers who were kind of like their allies. It's all money. They don't really believe in it.
Right.
So they took him down to the police station and told him if he didn't make a statement against me, he would go to jail. Okay, so the only thing he wound up saying, he kept his cool, and the only thing he wound up saying is that in the privacy of my own home, I had said something like, what do we, because they had attacked him on the street, the guards at the old Guarantee building. I had said something like, well, if the police don't do anything about this, are we going to have to get our own guns? That's all I said, and he reported that. So anyway, he came and arrested me, but he didn't know that I knew who he was. So when he arrested me at the library, he tried to arrest me for being a terrorist. It's absurd. The letter, I was in handcuffs. So I jump up in the library and I yell all over the library, he's a Scientologist. I said he's protecting his own corrupt business because he was going to make a fortune out of it. They're already stealing the money from the police athletic league.
Yeah.
See, they don't, the people running it, they don't believe in this crap. It's just money. You know that.
Some of them do.
Some of them do.
Yeah.
But you're right. You're absolutely right. Anyway, so he arrests me. But the first thing I say is, look, I know you're one of them. I said the first thing I'm going to do in court is tell the judge the whole story. How you're arresting me to protect your own corrupt business racket. I said,
what happened?
Well, anyway, so he turns white as a ghost, but he thought so he takes me down to the police station, and now he's trying to figure out how to still nail me.
Yeah.
So he says, well, guess what? We have a statement.
You're local.
Yeah, I really had, I've been here 6 years. I didn't even have anything against them. I've been here 6 years. I only wrote the letter about the
All right. My name is Matt. I'm Kurt.
Oh yeah. You're on the internet, or you're living here, or?
Actually, I live in the Bay Area. Northern California. I got a couple laid off a couple of months ago.
Stop you there. Reason why. So, what's your name and why are you here? What kind of problems do you have with the Scientology organization?
My name is Matt. We met. I'm here, well, obviously to protest Scientology today. I'm here because I am someone who spends a lot of time on the internet. I'm a former Netscape employee, and I've watched them for the last few years attempt to control what is said about them on the internet through forged cancels of any critical message, or trying to mess with the person's internet service provider if they say something they don't like, or by flooding a news group that has critical posts with garbage to flood out all of the other posts. That's going on right now with hundreds and thousands of posts through alt religion Scientology. And in the interest of free speech, I got tired of it. I've been watching them for a couple of years, ever since they raided Dennis Erlich's house, and at no point during that time have they ever faced up to their abuses in civil rights. So
you started to fight against the organization?
I've done a couple of pickets in the Bay Area, and I came out for this one because it seemed like a very important picket.
Do you know through which internet provider they work, and do they have their own?
They change reasonably often. At the moment, they're going through a couple of anonymous remailers to make it harder to find them. Whenever they can find an open news port or an ISP that they can get an account at, they will use it until they get canceled, and then they'll just find another one.
Do you think Earthlink is connected to Scientology?
I don't know enough about Earthlink to say.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
What, it came from what direction?
I heard it from behind me, and it was very loud, which made me think that it had quite a velocity when it hit. Whether that means it came from the balcony up there where that man was yelling at us, where you see the open window.
That would be a tough throw.
Sure, a tough throw.
Yeah.
No, it wouldn't be a tough call. With a heavy mug like that, that would be a fairly easy throw.
No, believe me.
You think so?
I've been throwing at too many things.
I yield to your better judgment.
And there was a van or
I didn't see a van. The film crew saw it.
No, I heard it behind me too, and there was no car passed through at the time.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
There was no car nearby at the time.
I didn't know.
Excuse me?
That's what I
You
thought.
know where your exes are?
Where am I? What?
It's a joke. I'm not allowed to joke anymore on the job. I'm sorry.
No, really.
I can't do that.
It lightens the mood.
She'd do it face to face. She wouldn't sneak up behind me. So it was real loud. I don't know if a person could throw, but there was a man up there screaming at us every time we went by.
No, I'm not saying it's hot water.
Sure.
The location where the cup is, I can't see anything to the woodwork. Now it's up to you to step further. I get the report taken.
Right.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hello, what's your name and why are you here today and what do you want to say?
My name is Jacobsen. I'm from Phoenix, Arizona. I'm here today to let the public know that Scientology is a dangerous religious group that mostly is, to me, a scam, basically. They have hurt people, especially Lisa McPherson died in Clearwater, Florida. That's what my sign is about here. And I come here to inform the public and also to let the church know that in the United States, freedom of speech reigns, and they cannot stop free speech that they don't like. That's the basis of it.
Did you ever have arrested by Scientology or the organization? Did they arrest you?
No, I've never been arrested. I've had their private investigators outside my home. They've had private investigators come to my place of employment and take my picture. They've picketed my employer before. Gone through my garbage. I was deposed in a case. They threatened to sue me and raid my home. That was one of their attorneys told me that. So, I mean, that's typical of how they treat critics, is they just attack you, basically.
What do you think, what will happen with the Eliza McPherson case? Do you think it will come to
Well, the civil case is going forward. That'll succeed, I'm sure. As far as the criminal case, I don't know why it's taking so long that there isn't an arrest yet, but I believe there will be arrests in that case, criminal arrests. Yes.
Okay. Thank you. I guess that's it.
Get me?
Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1.
Hold on, stop.
4, 3, 2, 1, go. Look at
My name is Garry Scarff. I used to be an operative for the Church of Scientology, a member of the church for almost 11 years. This is where I worked for approximately 2 to 3 years, and this is the Office of Special Affairs on the 3rd floor. They recently redid the windows so you cannot look in during the daytime. You can see it at night when the lights are on. But the 3rd floor is the Office of Special Affairs, which is the intelligence network for Scientology. Every intelligence operation that happens with any organization that involves Scientology around the world comes from the 3rd floor up here. The 4th floor up here is the actual offices of Moxon, Hendrik Moxon. The law firm has changed names several times. It is now Moxon and Helena Cobran. Their actual offices are up there, although they list the address of their offices at a different location, which is actually a mail drop. But this is the actual offices where the intelligence information is compiled and orders to do things come from here. It's also on the 3rd floor here where I had a meeting with Eugene Ingram and attorneys for the Church of Scientology, and they instructed me to murder Cynthia Kisser and Ford Green, two very big critics of the church. But all your operations happen here on the 3rd floor. All the legal operations are on the 4th floor here. Hey, hold on. Scientology printed. This is the American Sandhill Organization. This is the educational forum for the Church of Scientology International. We're currently at the primary international headquarters for Scientology. There's several units within this huge structure here, and this is where a lot of the students actually enter the building to take courses. It's also the headquarters, which is in a building on the other side of the Sea Organization, which is a uniformed paramilitary unit of Scientology. If you look to the stairs here, you'll see two Sea Org members actually entering the building in full uniform. And again, they're just mocking the Navy, dressing up in uniforms. In the very back of me, of course, these are offices of the Office of Special Affairs, 3rd floor. 4th floor is attorneys' offices and other classrooms. We're now walking to the walkway of the American Sandhill Organization. The walkway takes you to what used to be a former chapel of Scientology, but beneath the chapel is where they have boilers, and it's in that boiler room where they take individuals who are on RPF, Rehabilitation Project Force, and if the crime is serious enough or the punishment is warranted enough, they will chain them to the pipes of the boiler room underneath the chapel. Of course, you see a lot of signs now along here, and the signs are pointing out to L. Ron Hubbard's birthday, which is very strange that they would be celebrating L. Ron Hubbard's birthday, and that there is evidence to show that David Miscavige, who is the president of all this, may have helped in the death of L. Ron Hubbard. And while this is going on, here they're celebrating his birthday. The building here, these are apartments.
And how many people are they living in?
All of the staff of Scientology lives in these buildings here, except when you get to the top levels, and it looks like they have pulled down all the shades on all the windows because they knew that we were coming. They do this as a routine situation, so we can't look into the building. But on the upper levels, where they don't have the air conditioning units, they have barracks in the room, approximately 20 to 30 barracks in one room, where they just take people, and whenever a bed is available to sleep in, the person will jump in that bed. So invariably, in a week's time, you could be sleeping in 7 different beds because you can't claim one as your own. Again, they're just bunk beds, and they're all put together in one big room. And all the top floors, they call it pig's berthing because it's like a pigsty. Everyone's just thrown together. Okay.
have the right to walk in.
Hi, this is the Church of Scientology living quarters, and this is for the staff of anyone that's within the Scientology building. What's very interesting about this building, if you look at it, it's decrepit and falling apart. As much money as the Scientology organization has spent in litigation fees, paying attorneys to sue critics and go after people, paying private investigators to investigate people and slander them. They spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on this. At the same time, they could care less about the living quarters of their very own members because the building's falling apart. It's very ugly shade of blue. It has not been painted in 10 to 11 years. Look at the Scientology sign. That's been there for at least 20 years. And it's falling apart. You see paint cracking, windows broken, shades being almost falling out of the windows. It's just a very disgusting sight. Now, of course, this is on the back end of Scientology. On the Sunset side, where you had the neon sign promoting Scientology, the buildings are quite eloquent. They're brand new. If you pan over to my right, you'll see the Advanced Organization of Scientology. They just remodeled this building, and it's very new. And if you compare the two buildings, you'll see how you have a very new building here, very nice entrance, and here it's just falling apart, and it's just disgusting.
How long did you live there, and how long are living quarters looking inside where you live?
I was here for 3 years. In my living quarters, of course, the window shade is pulled down, but it's on the second to the top of the floor here. If you look at the lamp and go down 2 floors, you'll see my apartment, the shades are pulled. Of course, if you also notice the building, there's at least 1, 2, 3, 4 security cameras out here, because Scientologists are extremely paranoid of anything, particularly people who criticize them. And so they have security cameras everywhere.
And how does it work when you came back in the night for sleeping? Do you have your own room and your own bed?
Well, you have a room, but it's not your own bed. You have approximately 20 to 25 bunk beds. You have approximately 20 to 25 bunk beds in each room. The rooms are not that big, so the bunk beds are pushed together. And you just choose whatever bed is available. You don't have your own quarters, so invariably within a week's time, you could be sleeping in 7 different beds, because whatever bed is open is yours. And sometimes I would go to pig's birthing to go to sleep, and I would have to sleep with soiled sheets and laundry that smelled like it had been laundered in a month. That's how they live here.
And how many people are living in a room or sleeping in a room in the night in such a first place?
I would say you have at least 100 people in a room sleeping, and they're all cramped together, and it's a very bad living situation. Very unhealthy. The RPF is called the Rehabilitation Project Force, and like a basic training camp in the Army, they use it to enforce discipline here in the Church of Scientology, except it goes from very minor to very ridiculous. For example, people are taken to boiler rooms and chained to pipes and left there for days upon days. They're locked in rooms without food and water, and they're basically tortured. And it's really a behavior modification process due to enforce total submission to any orders that come out of the superiors here in the Church of Scientology.
They do have different levels regarding RPF? That means
That's correct. They have the Rehabilitation Project Force, which is the first step where you go in rehabilitation. Of course, once you go to the camp, the rehabilitation camp, which is out in the desert, if you don't go to that camp, then you go to the RPF's RPF, which is a lower grade of RPF. And there it's just absolute torture. People have come out of RPF with horror stories about some of the things that go on. You're not treated as a human being, you're treated as vermin. And people leave mentally damaged when they go to the RPF's RPF. But this is Scientology's way of enforcing discipline among its Sea Org members.
Is it correct that RPF is controlled by 2 EPF?
I'm sorry?
Is it true that an RPF you described right now is controlled when he's working or when she's working?
That's correct. He's always under, it's like baby watch. He's always being watched at all times by 2 EPFs. An EPF is the Estates Project Force, and basically this is a work detail that you actually go on when you become a Scientologist to kind of learn the communal type of setting that Scientology has. But he's always watched, making sure he does his job. Also, they have to report every time, every 5 minutes what's happening with this individual. So if this individual is talking to people, they will inform on him. So anyone that's on RPF that's being watched knows that they are forbidden to speak, and they just do what they're told to do. And again, it's a behavior modification process. Over time, you get to the point where you just take orders, and you do nothing else. It's brainwashing.
And last question, Garry, how do they look like? They got special uniforms?
That's correct.
Dress?
RPFers are definitely marked. They have to wear black clothing. They're forced to wear black clothing. Some of them wear arm brands, which shows them to be different than the regular people that are coming into Scientology. Also, they're basically crowded together. You will not see them walking normally with public Scientologists. They're always crowded together. They will place them to do menial work around Scientology where the public is not around. If the public is around, they hide them. But again, it's a work detail, it's a prison detail for Scientology.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I bet there's those things for eating. But yeah, they were running buses.